James Thomas, Morning Blend. You know, National Geographic has a brand new series coming out called The Right Stuff. And here to talk about it is Colin O'Donoghue, who plays Lieutenant Gordon Cooper. Good morning, Colin. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I hear that strong Ireland accent there. I like that.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't notice it, but I guess I probably do.
Now, what is it like playing Gordon Cooper? How much research did you have to do?
Yeah, I mean, I did as much research as I could. I came in quite late to the process, so I started 4 days before we started shooting. So um, I'd read the book before, and I'd seen the movie. So in some respects, I knew quite a bit about it. But we were very lucky to have an incredible script. So most everything was already on the page. And when you come in with that short time frame, you have to rely a lot on what's on the page. But of course, as soon as I knew I was taking on the role, I you know listened to interviews and tried to watch as much stuff as I could and read as much as I could within that time.
You know, Colin, besides your reading and watching a lot of things, what about the physicality about it? How about playing him physically as an astronaut? What did you have to do to prepare for that?
Yeah, I mean, like these guys were incredibly fit. You know, luckily I was trying to keep fit anyway. So, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a huge amount of time to prepare for that. But one thing that we did get to do in one of the episodes, Jake and I got to sort of fly around the sort of the Mastiff, which turns in all the different axes. So that was kind of fun to get to do that. And you definitely kind of have to have your wits about you when you're doing that. So that was a lot of fun.
How was it like? You're saying a lot of fun. You got the switches and stuff, but this is back in the 1960s. So you got the clothes, you got the car, you got the hairdos. What was your attitude towards all that? How did that hit you?
Oh, I loved all that, and in a weird way, that kind of really helps to inform, how you play a role. For me, the costume is such a big part, and when you're walking around, and you're seeing like 1959 Corvettes and these old cars, and everybody's dressed like they're in the 50s and 60s. You can't help but feel like you're in it. It's one of the things that I think the the art direction and the costumes and stuff were so incredible on this show. You really were transported back to that time.
Now, what can we expect in this series that's different from the movie and the book?
What we explore a little more, I think, in this series is kind of the relationships that they had with their families and their wives, and what the impact of being thrust into levels of fame that very few people had ever experienced before, what that impact was on their families and on them as people. And sort of, I think that that's something that we explore a little bit more in this version of The Right Stuff. Of course, we look at the beginnings of NASA and all that kind of stuff, but these guys, nobody had ever experienced that level of fame. And we live in a time now where people can be famous for taking a video of themselves on their iPhone. It wasn't like that back then. It wasn't like that back then.
Now, in doing this series, do you have any aspirations of going to space?
Are you offering to get me into space? Because I'll go if you are.
Are you offering me a free trip to Dublin, Ireland?
If you can get me up into space, then yeah, you can come to Ireland. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm I'm fascinated by space. I think most people are. It's like the great adventure, isn't it? Nobody knows what's out there. I think the sort of exploration appeals to most human beings, and that would be the great exploration, wouldn't it? Going out into space.
Definitely. Colin O'Donoghue, thank you so much for joining us on Morning Blend. We're going to be watching out for National Geographic's The Right Stuff, and I promise you, I'm going to visit Ireland one day.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, we are